Now, where were we? Ah, yes, we're back in this game. Hello, everybody, and welcome back for more Let's Play Donkey Kong Country. In today's episode, we're going to be starting the final area of the game, the Chimp Caverns. And this level here, oh, this is actually where it's going to put your skills to the test. Well, in fact, your platforming skills to the test, because there are a couple of stages. Well, particularly this one and this one certain one. Like, get to that a little later on, though, because, well... it's going to be a lot of platforming too, but I mean, it's going to be perilous when it comes to platforming, especially for later on, but yeah, this one will basically just fill you with anxiety as well. So, before I go any further detail, and I know a lot of you guys are probably just, giving me all the glares, for the fact that I'm actually just now finally uploading this video after being gone for so long, and I understand that I have a lot of explaining to do, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. So, first off, I want to say I am so sorry for suddenly delaying this and, not really uploading anything at all. The reasons for that, though, is, it's going to be a long one, though. But just to get this out of the way, actually, though, the whole gist of this level here is that, you want to pick up these fuel tanks that you see here, these fuel barrels, and you're basically riding on this little platform in which you see all the lights. And they will gradually go down as you go along, and so they kind of start to deplete themselves. You see at the lights, so all the green lights, and then to the yellow ones, and then red. Kind of like those traffic lights on the roads. But you want to pick those up so that way there the platform will keep going. If it runs out, then the platform drops, and then you fall down to your death. So yeah, just make sure you pick up as many of those fuel tanks as you can, and the number of those you see here will actually fill on the lights here, so it depends on the number. So you see like a 3, then it fills up for 3. So just make sure to pick up as many as you can too, so. Anyway, so back to my rather inexcusable explanation as to why I've been gone for so long, and yeah, you'll see the jump cuts because I've been falling to my death, but anyway, so what's been happening was that, my computer, the disk space on this current drive that was already at default, it was filling up tremendously, and I wasn't really downloading anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't downloading anything. No, I wasn't downloading any porn. Don't worry about that, guys. But like, I wasn't really, I haven't really done much of anything though. I think the only thing about it is that if you go on some of these websites and then it's one that uses cookies, and so. Like, nothing much of it, though, but they kind of do tend to clog your files, so you want to make sure to delete those anyway. But, like, but I know, like, some of the more common websites say they tend to have those kind of cookies, but, like, besides that, my main drive that I was using, it was running out of memory, and it was filling up tremendously, like, all of a sudden, without any warning, and so it just keeps on doing that, and like... I wasn't really doing anything else, so I try to make sure to delete as many of the files I absolutely don't need as possible, and also to, basically just, kind of, consolidate, with the amount of space I would have, and so, just try to delete them. I even tried to compress them, too, but no matter what I did, it wasn't really, nothing was working, and so it just kept on filling in no matter what, and it was getting to the point where it was reaching its peak, and the space was just getting, or it was just getting full, and so there was nothing else I could do. Now, strangely enough, though, like even then, my computer was still functioning kind of fine, though, but it was having some problems about it too. And I thought, from what I was reading, they were saying that when your disk space reaches out to its max, your computer could crash down and potentially shut down for good, shut out forever, and I was afraid that my computer was going to do the same thing as well. And don't get the wrong idea, I was actually reading off some variable sources, or some reliable sources, and no, I was not reading off of goddamn AI, but, that's what they were saying on some of the sources there. But yeah, I thought that my computer was going to crash down, so I had to put my videos on yet another hiatus and try to save my money, because I was trying to get myself a laptop, some kind of a backup laptop, and so so I managed to do that, managed to save enough money to get a laptop, and so I placed the order, and so it was working pretty good at first. I was actually glad to have the laptop. Unfortunately, when I tried to re-download Adobe Premiere, and then just to kind of test things out, and I downloaded Adobe Premiere, apparently that laptop actually doesn't have enough RAM to be able to support the software itself. So that's what's short on it. So because of that, the videos tend to be a little clunky, and it was having some syncing issues. And so because of that, like, it was kind of barely functional. So so I went and stored that laptop away somewhere though, and I know it kind of seemed like it was a bit of a waste of money, but I'm actually still going to keep that laptop anyway though, just in case, because in case I ever decide to travel somewhere, then I'm probably going to want a computer, so I would just bring my laptop with me. I know I have an iPad and all that though, but I think it would be also just a little better just to just have a laptop in case if I ever want to practice on some more things. But but basically as some sort of backup computer, and just take it with me for when I go traveling somewhere. If I either go out of town or out of state or something like that, then just take it with me. So I'm still gonna keep it anyway, regardless. So as a bit of a last resort. I am actually going back to use my old computer, which I thought was going to be maxed out of the space, and so I managed to find a way to actually just compress that space. So, and then the other thing I did was that I actually do have a backup drive, which of course I'm actually using right now, and so what I did instead was that I made sure to actually default that to that kind of drive. So basically, whichever recording software that I'm using to record these playthroughs, I'm actually defaulting, sending those kind of files, the footage over to the other drive, the alternate drive that had like a shit ton of space, just like, I think like 1 or 2 terabytes of space, but I made sure to default to that one, so that way there the videos will be sent over to that kind of drive, and that way there I can actually be able to that way there they'll be able to function normally. So so I use that instead, and so that actually seems to be working. So honestly, God, folks, like I'm actually glad that I was able to use that kind of method and record these videos, but at the same time, I was like, well, fuck me then, because like I could have known that the whole time and not have to worry about having to put my videos on a hiatus, and then and having to get a laptop. So I mean, I would have known that the whole time, but no, I wasn't even told that beforehand, and so I was trying to look at no matter what sources I've looked, and none of them ever mentioned anything about it. It's just told me, oh, your computer's gonna crash down for if it runs out of space. And well, I wish you had told me those nice little alternatives to that, and so that way there I could have been producing more videos for the whole time. So yeah, like, God, fuck me. I'm always ended up being the dumbass here. So anyway, so yeah, because of that, I am really sorry for that sudden delay. I mean, I wish I would have known that beforehand, but communication is a bitch, But anyway, so well, most importantly, I'm back to doing Let's Plays now. So it's gotten to where I actually miss doing Let's Plays, and so I'm finally back to doing this. And especially considering that we are almost done with this game. Because like I said, this is actually the final area of this game before we get to the final boss, and so that we actually get this done, and then we can move on to the next Donkey Kong game, which will be of course DKC 2. So. But yeah, so other than that, I'm back, and so I'm finally, just back with a vengeance and all. Ugh. Anyway, so let's go. So back to just talk more about this world here, this area. So yeah, Chimp Caverns. People would say that it could be considered a bit of a disappointing last level, mainly because everybody thought that Kremrock Industries Inc. It kind of seems like a final stronghold for the whole Kremling army, and so because it makes sense too, because I guess that's where King K. Rool basically set up his own kind of base of operations right there, and so he basically infiltrate the enemy's base. That's how it usually is in these games, as a final dungeon or final level. You infiltrate the enemy's headquarters or enemy stronghold, and so you reach final boss, and so that's what it'd been like. But no, they actually decided to use it as the penultimate area, and then it goes straight to the caverns, which is like some kind of a common area for DK Island. So that's what some people say, though, but it's not really so much that, though. It's the fact that, some of the levels are absolutely hard as shit. So this whole gimmick with this level here, it's another one of those darkened levels here. You see these on and off barrels here, so that basically just kind of turns on lights, but you see that everything around here is it's pretty much mostly dark here. I mean, you kind of make out where some of the platforms are, but what you have to do is that you have to just basically turn on the lights. It doesn't really turn them on all the way because, as you can see here, it's very ambient. It's very it's very much dim, but you should still be able to see enough of where you're going. even if you have the lights on, but, you know, but it actually goes on for a short time, and then it actually goes back to being dark, so you have to hit the, hit those barrels again to kind of turn those lights back on. And also, yeah, I was actually, hold on, this barrel. Yeah, you see that barrel right there that the Neki was tossing the nuts at, and so, well, the tossing those nuts at you. Make sure to pick up the barrel, because, you know, you want to make sure not to destroy the barrel, because I couldn't find the other barrel. But that's only if you're going after the bonus rooms. If you're not really intending on going after the bonus rooms, then don't worry about it. But I just had to make sure not to lose the barrel either way, so. But yeah, I also gotta say though, like, look how silly ambient this looks here. You know, once again, I've always been praising about how about the graphics for this game, and you know how amazing Donkey Kong Country looks, and this is one of those great examples. It really shows here, and you know, especially by Super Nintendo standards. They, you know, like I said, Rare really knows how to knock it out of the park. When it, well, they really did when they developed this game. You know, they want to make sure the game looks good, and they did. They did such an amazing job with it. It's because, you know, it looks absolutely amazing. It's just gorgeous looking. So, but yeah, that's when that was done. And so let's go over to the last save point for Candy Kong here. Can I help you, Candy? You know, you're a monkey too. Just so you know, are you trying to be Frieza? Yeah. Hello, monkeys. Okay, this level here, Platform Perils. Oh my god. Platform Perils. Oh man, just the name alone is enough for people to actually just give them World War II flashbacks on this right here. So, remember when I said that, you know, about this level here kind of being on tight on platforming? This one is actually the biggest offender for how tight the platforming can be, and absolutely how small it is too. And this one will fill you with anxiety. Now, I will say though that I didn't have as much trouble. I'm not trying to brag anything here, don't get me wrong, but I didn't have as much trouble. But I still kind of had the shit scared out of, you know, when I was recording this with those kind of platforms. And so what it is here, and to actually get this out of the way, I mean, it's not just so much the platforms that you have to be careful with, because, you know, there's a lot of them very tight. You want to make sure to get a good holding on them. Here's your other big problem. You see those different colored crushers that you see there? Those are the super strong crushers. They are a lot stronger than the normal crushers, the blue ones. So those are like the gray ones you encounter. There's only one way to kill them, just with barrels. Yeah, you think that the Diddy alone wouldn't be able to kill those kind of crushers? No, not even Donkey Kong himself can actually be able to kill them just by jumping on them. No. You have to make sure you have a barrel with you, and, you know, if you ever see those kind of crushes, you have to make sure you have a barrel with you, and to actually kill them. So, yeah, make sure you find one and grab it, hold on to it, and do not, for the love of God, do not lose it, because if you do, you are going to be stuck with a crusher, and you are fucked. They will, oh yeah, they will stand there, and they will try to attack you right then and there. And yeah, I'm doing those jump cuts right here because, you know, because I was using the rewind feature on this right here, because, you know, I was like, fuck it, I don't feel like having to spent so much time having to redo this whole level over and over again, because it was already pretty late at night when I recorded this. I actually recorded this around actually at midnight for last night. So yeah, I just kind of want to get this whole thing out of the way, because, you know, well, it was because, you know, after I was using my laptop, and you know, and things that didn't seem to be working, so I want to get back to doing Let's Plays again, and so I want to get this out of the way so that way there I can actually be able to upload, because I know you guys have waited long enough. And so alright, so these next few platforms, yeah, these next ones, they'll have these gray crushers on there. So as soon as you see a barrel on one of those platforms, hold on to it. Do not let it go. Do not lose it, because the next one over, you'll see another gray crusher. And, you know, just immediately turn where you're going, because, you know, just make sure you don't lose it, because otherwise, yeah, you're fucked. So yeah, like I said, not even Donkey Kong himself can actually be able to kill the crushers just by jumping on them. They are a lot stronger than DK himself. So so yeah, just make sure you don't lose the barrel. For the love of God, just don't. And I fucked up right there, so I had to, you know, once again rewire there, because I was like, you know, I just don't feel like having to go through all this shit again. So now let's see. Yeah, there's only 2 bonus rooms here, so thankfully though they're a little easier to get to, because one's at the entrance and the other one's just right at the exit. So, you know, kind of talk about bookends a moment. And so, because of that, this is actually the final level of the game. Yeah, I kid you not. This is actually the final stage in the entire game, Platform Perils. So, way to actually send or save the worst for last for this game right here, right before you get to the boss and then the final boss of the game. Because like, you know, it actually goes to show that the developers must have, you know, gone through all the levels, and so they were either bored out of their minds, or, you know, maybe they kind of just want to dig with us. And so they were to go like, oh, you know what? Fuck it. I got shit to do. I want to be done with this already. So let's go make all these dickish platforms here. And then, and he's like, what are you doing? And it's like, I'm just taking all these platforms all over and making all these mooks right here. And then filling these bottom spits. And then you go like, Greg, you son of a bitch. You are a genius. Let's make this right here. And so there we go. That's how Platform Perils was. So yeah, fitting in for all this for the final level of the game. But yeah, that was it. The final level of the game here. So yeah, at least we got that out of the way. And so not only that, we got all the bonus rooms. So anyway, let's pay one last visit to get verbally abused one last time by an old man. One more, more of these rants from Cranky Kong. But this will be the last time we get to see him, though. And, once again, we're actually supposed to be in a cavern, and then we're just right back outside to the jungle. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that'll be our last visit. And so, with that out of the way, I gotta say though, so after being done with the final level, and so yeah, that means we got through all the levels in the game and all the bonus rooms. So that way that will definitely ensure a 100% completion. So all that's left is Necky's Revenge. So this will be the last regular boss before the final boss here. This is Master Necky Senior. So same as before as when you fought Master Necky earlier beforehand. Only he's a little trickier because, each time you actually jump on him, he'll actually start shooting these nuts, and he starts to shoot out more nuts, in his own kind of pattern. So, like, say, for instance, after hitting him twice, then he actually shoots out to the nuts, or just regurgitate them. So make sure to avoid the first and then jump on him. That's what you have to do, just because, he's invincible while he's shooting at the nuts, but once he's done, then just jump on him. Then there we go. Then there's a banana. That was kind of like, anticlimactic, but speaking of the climax, that's right, folks. Gameplay Galleon. This is actually where we get to the final boss. So, we're done with all the areas, we're done with all the levels, and got through all the bonus rooms. So that way there, we'll get a 100% completion on this one. 101% completion, I should say. And so all that's left is to face off against King K. Rool. So, next time on Let's Play Donkey Kong Country, we're going to be going to Gameplay Galleon and finish off the evil Kingly Croc once and for all. And we'll get our bananas back. So until then, I'll see you guys later.